Welcome to today's Explainer. Imagine stepping into a bustling environment where the emotional stakes are just incredibly high, schedules are packed, and the people you support, well, they're relying on you for their most fundamental needs. Whether you're a direct support professional, a nurse, or really anyone in a caregiving role, your everyday reality is a delicate balancing act. It's almost like walking a tightrope. You're tasked with providing deep, person-centered support, teaching, advocating, encouraging, while simultaneously keeping strict professional boundaries. Doing this safely means you absolutely have to know where your compassionate support begins and, crucially, exactly where it has to end.
Take a look at how the National Council of State Boards of Nursing defines professional boundaries. They call it the space between a nurse's power and a patient's vulnerability. That space is delicate. This definition immediately sets the high stakes for your daily interactions, right? As a professional, you are the guardian of that space. It's a constant negotiation between providing necessary, intimate care and safeguarding a vulnerable person from harm or manipulation.
So to keep us totally focused today, here is our roadmap. We're going to cover the direct support role, empowering person-centered care, navigating the power imbalance, understanding professional boundaries, boundary crossings and violations, and finally, strategies for maintaining boundaries. All right, let's jump straight into Section 1, the direct support role. As a direct support professional, your fundamental duties are all about being an advocate, a partner, a teacher, a resource, and an encourager. You are there to help them acquire skills and promote true independence. What you are not is a boss barking orders or a parent dictating what's best. Look, we know caregivers often slip into these authoritative roles out of a totally genuine desire for efficiency or safety. Honestly, it's just so much faster to tell someone what to do or, just do it for them. But here's the thing. Making decisions for someone else, unless you're legally specified to do so, fundamentally strips away their autonomy. It actively damages that partnership you're supposed to be building. The true bedrock of your job is person-centered thinking. This basically means you fiercely support an individual's right to make choices rather than bending their routines just to make your own shift a bit easier. Think about your own life for a second. Do you absolutely need a quiet cup of coffee before speaking to a single human being in the morning? Do you have a favorite comfort meal you crave after a brutal day? The individuals you support have those exact same rights to preference. Your job is to actively problem solve with them, honor their unique quirks, and really treat them as an equal partner in their own life journey. Which brings us perfectly to Section 2, empowering person-centered care. So why is it so incredibly hard to let someone struggle? Seriously, ask yourself this. As a caregiver, your natural instinct, your gut reaction, is always going to be to rush in and rescue someone when things get tough. Imagine watching someone take 10 agonizing minutes to button their shirt when you know you could step in and finish it in 10 seconds. It is so tough to just stand back. But the hard truth, rescuing them is actually often about alleviating your own discomfort, not meeting their actual needs. When you jump in to fix things, you literally rob them of their learning process and the quiet dignity of accomplishment. True independence means embracing what we call the dignity of risk. This is all about fiercely protecting a person's right to fail. They have the right to say no or refuse support. They have the right to make a mistake without you immediately jumping in. And the right to take way, way longer to complete an activity. These are fundamental human rights. By stepping back, taking a breath, and waiting for them to ask for help, you allow pride and value to become part of their daily wins. You are genuinely advocating for their long-term growth. Let's move on to Section 3, navigating the power imbalance. Here's the reality. You cannot safely empower someone without first acknowledging the structural power you hold over them. By the very nature of illness, disability, or support needs, a caregiving relationship is inherently unequal. Now, you might not feel super powerful in your own daily life, but think about your role at work. You literally hold the keys to the house. You manage the daily schedule. You probably control access to essential medications or transportation. The individuals you support look to you for protection. If this power is left unacknowledged, it can so easily create a toxic dynamic where the person feels manipulated, completely reliant on you, or just too afraid to speak up. There's a massive, one-sided knowledge gap in this dynamic. Think about it. You have access to their deepest, most private information: medical records, trauma history, financial data, daily hygiene habits, the whole shebang. On the flip side, the person you support, they only know what you present to them professionally. You get to clock out and go home to a totally private life. This extreme disparity and vulnerability is exactly why the relationship can literally never be on a truly equal peer-to-peer footing. Knowing that imbalance exists, let's look at Section 4, understanding professional boundaries.
It is absolutely vital that you never confuse befriending someone to support them with an actual friendship. This distinction is a huge deal. A professional relationship, befriending, focuses strictly on meeting the needs of the person you are supporting. A true friendship, though, that focuses on the mutual needs of both people. When you let an emotional attachment blur into a friendship, it causes real damage. Because the individual's social circle might be quite limited, if you get transferred or leave your job, they don't just experience a normal professional handoff. They go through a devastating, deeply painful personal grieving process, and we want to avoid that at all costs. Maintaining a professional demeanor means leaving your personal baggage at the door, period. Whether you're in a clinical hallway or sitting in someone's living room, you have to be entirely present. If you spend your shift complaining about your car breaking down, venting about management, or hashing out your relationship drama within earshot of the people you support, you're shifting your emotional burden right onto them, and they are not there to support you. Unloading your personal problems forces them into a caregiving role for you, which completely destroys the therapeutic environment.
So what happens when these lines get crossed? That's Section 5, boundary crossings and violations. First up, a boundary crossing. This is a brief, sometimes totally inadvertent or thoughtless excursion across professional lines while you're trying to meet a special therapeutic need. It might be a complete accident or super well-intentioned, but it has to be evaluated immediately. Why? Because it's a slippery slope. For example, maybe you stay 15 minutes late, off the clock, just to finish a nice conversation. Seems totally harmless that one time, right? But that crossing can snowball into sharing personal phone numbers, which leads to texting off the clock, and eventually spirals into a highly confusing and dangerous dynamic. A boundary violation, on the other hand, actively jeopardizes the therapeutic relationship. This is crossing the lines meant to ensure security. Agency policies are incredibly strict here for a reason. The damage is profound. Giving personal gifts, that's a violation because it creates an unspoken sense of debt. Sharing personal problems or having private social media contact, that completely shatters professional distance. Even something that seems common, like showing favoritism to one client over another in a group home, is a massive violation. It breeds deep resentment, fractures the safety of the household, and ruins the trust everyone relies on. For our final piece today, Section 6, Strategies for Maintaining Boundaries. Protecting yourself and the people you support requires an active, everyday toolkit. First, set clear expectations regarding your role from day one. If a client behaves inappropriately or asks overly personal questions, be assertive. Kindly but firmly pivot the conversation right back to their goals and their care. Keep things strictly professional by not disclosing your personal info. And crucially, don't go digging for unnecessary, irrelevant gossip about them either. You are their trusted professional, not a confidant for local drama. Keeping this strict privacy protects your energy from burnout, and it keeps the client 100% focused on their own growth. I'm going to leave you with this provocative thought to carry right into your next shift. Pause, reflect, and ask yourself this critical question before every single interaction. Will my actions today help or hurt my relationship with the person I support? If you're about to do something, say something, or make a decision for someone rather than with them, just take a breath and pause. Let your professional boundaries be the invisible shield that ensures your compassion always leads to their empowerment. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and we will catch you next time.